Hey everybody, welcome to the Dive Locker podcast, the podcast for dive professionals, where we bring you the latest in diving industry resources that make you excellent at teaching techniques, risk management, and dive business. I'm Tec Clark, your host, and you know what? A topic that is circulating through the diving industry right now is getting students off their knees when conducting skills. This could be in confined water or open water. And the issue is, at what point do we start introducing neutral buoyancy so that the majority of skills can be done and performed in neutral buoyancy? Which is, after all, what the end goal is, right? Right? Unfortunately, there's plenty of stories in our industry circulating around open water divers and even higher level divers performing skills while kneeling on the bottom. In fact, in one of his Divers Ready episodes, James Blackman tells a story of one of his technical diving students who came to him and he was doing the pre-assessment with her and got to the point of doing the mask clear just to see. Now, she's an advanced diver already coming into technical, right? She nods her head, to do the mask clear, deflates her BC, goes down, kneels on the reef to do the mask clear. He does a whole episode about it. It's something. But there's a whole lot of reasons why that's bad. So today, I want to break down for you where we used to be as an industry and where we are today on this issue. I'm going to lay down the pros and cons of kneeling versus neutral for instructor skill demonstrations and skill performance requirements for students. And I'm going to show you footage of an actual open water diver confined water class, class session number 1, where I utilize early neutral buoyancy adoption for building all other skills upon. You get to see my actual students in action, their first time on scuba underwater. So let's hit it. Back in the day, we taught on our knees. In fact, we even had a term for it. It was called rescue ready. And what it was basically that you had one knee on the bottom and you had one knee bent and propped up. So you're kneeling. One knee up, one knee down. Now, this rescue ready position was so that you could launch at any time to get to a student. And so we also had it very worked up that the students would not be on their butts and their legs extended and their fins up, because then we couldn't get to them and grab if we needed to. So they were on their knees. So that if we're in rescue ready, and they're on their knees, if they start to get wiggy, now all of a sudden they start those knees going, we're rescue ready, we're able to get them, right? So that was taught for a long time, and frankly, I really like rescue ready. I mean, there's times I still use it in certain applications where I need to be able to launch if I needed to. So that has a legacy. There's a thing there. So if we taught skills on our knees and we had students perform skills on their knees, why has this only become an issue in the last decade or so? Well, folks, it's because back in the day, we had courses long enough to start them on their knees, and eventually all skills would be done again via skill repetition when they had mastered neutral buoyancy. Now, however, courses are much shorter in duration, and many instructors are following their slates going from skill to skill. All this to make sure they get certified in 3 days. Well, that advertising, not necessarily the best thing, because now we're regulating the time allotment in a course. There's simply just not time for skill repetition in short classes. So what happens? The instructor overweights his or her students so that the majority of the skills can be conducted easily. Because doing skills in neutral is more difficult for new students. Heck, I've seen instructors not perform open water diver level skills with demonstration quality while in neutral buoyancy. Yes, it's hard, but it just takes time. So one would say that a con of teaching students skills in neutral is that it takes longer. Okay, but the alternative is to keep them on their knees for most skills? No. And here's why that's no longer justified in our industry. 1, overweighting students is not productive. It might make things easier on you, but it is counterproductive to the student's matriculation to be a certified diver. 2, motor memory. When the body is vertical, we're on our knees and we're vertical. Think of all the skills and how they have a different application in a vertical posture versus horizontal in the water column. So now we're going to do regulator clears and recoveries. We do that recovery, the regulator drops straight down. Whereas if we're in neutral and we are horizontal, the regulator is going to come straight down this way, right? Looking down. So when we start motor memory of arm sweeps and reaches and things like that, where the hoses lie changes. So that's not all. What about putting a weight belt on or integrated pouches? Upright versus neutral. You see, it just goes, even mass clears. Where's the water going to settle? All of these things change once we start getting into the neutral position. Number 3, environmental concerns. Remember the story of James Blackman's student? Yep. But also, did you know that you can pull up videos of skills on YouTube right now from a prominent scuba certification agency that shows the model performing all the skills on her knees in the sand next to a reef? You might be like, well, she's not on the coral, Tech. She's in the sand. What's the big deal? Folks, I used to think that way until I became an adjunct professor in the Department of Marine and Environmental Sciences at Nova Southeastern University. There were plenty of other professors, faculty, researchers, and scientific divers who would vehemently speak out for the amount of life in the sand. Those are truly habitats for a plethora of life. And when we go kneeling in the sand, frankly, it demonstrates our lack of knowledge about our underwater ecosystems. Take Dr. Alex Brilski's Eco Pro course, and you'll see exactly what I mean. I want to acknowledge this episode's sponsor, Divers Alert Network. On this show, we talk a lot about diving smarter, which means being prepared for the unexpected. That's where Divers Alert Network, or DAN, comes in. DAN is a lifeline for divers, providing members with 24/7 access to dive medicine experts who understand what we do, and much more. But DAN is about more than emergencies. It's a nonprofit and a global leader in dive safety research and education, helping make our community safer. I'm a longtime DAN member and instructor trainer myself. It's something you hope to never need, but you'll be incredibly glad you have it if you do. If you're not already a DAN member, I hope you'll consider joining today. If you're a dive professional, encourage your divers to join. DAN student membership is free to you and your entry-level students. In fact, I require all of my new students to have DAN student membership. Dive smart, dive safe. Dive with DAN, your dive safety organization since 1980. Visit dan.org to learn more. So how do we go from knees to neutral? Let me show you how I do it. Now, first you need to know I'm not a knee Nazi. That's a cool term. It might be offensive to some people, but yeah, I think it's funny. Knee Nazi. It seems there's this pendulum of dive pros who, on the one hand, they don't give a rip about training on their knees or having students train on their knees. And then you've got those who are, thou shalt nary a fin toucheth the bottom, or pestilence and wrath shall be brought upon you. You know who you are. Right? But here's the thing. I do a pretty good transition that gets them into neutral early as they work through their skills. So let's take a look at that here. All right, so let's take a look here at our class. So here we got everybody ready to go underwater for the first time. And now notice that in our briefing, we were telling everybody get flat right from the beginning, not get on the knees, not go down and be on the knees right away. So you can see everybody's posturing to be flat and to make their way down into a horizontal position. Now with this is a great way to start that process of horizontal. Now here you got to see them in here. They're all laying down on the bottom. We've got a little bit of a floater there in the middle, that young lady. So her legs are up. Her buoyancy wasn't right. She didn't have enough weight. We made adjustment to that. She came down eventually. But look at how everybody is just really focused on just being down there, only slight touches with the fingertips or knees. That's it. I'm even down there with them because this is the first time on scuba, so we're just looking at gauges and all. So now we get into an actual clear. Notice how I'm in neutral buoyancy doing a regulator clear. I'm demoing a full slow regulator clear, and now it's their turn to do it. So again, everybody's on the bottom, but look at where their head positions are. They have to be in that arched back, kind of upright of a better head position with not much contact. So look, he's coming up off the bottom there right away. Just getting into that whole zone of what neutral is, but he's really not even thinking about the neutral buoyancy part about it. He's just doing the skill. And same here, you can see where she's in neutral, little flailing, but like those knees are off the ground, little contact with the hands, she's getting it. This is minutes into their first time breathing scuba underwater, right? So this positioning really helps with that, starting them off in a neutral position, getting them that way. Now I love this one. So here's guy number one. Guy number two is already in neutral buoyancy. Look at guy number three on the right here. He's playing with his mask. We haven't done mask clears yet, but he's got some water getting in there. So he gets in neutral and he's clearing his mask. The guy in the middle's done his mask clear. I mean, this is really crazy stuff. So here we go. This guy's super locked in, calculated, looking at his air consumption or his exhaling rate. And so we teach both right here on this. So you got the purge as well as the blast. So the blast was first, now the purge. So he floats up a little bit here on that. Now, again, we're in 3.5 feet of water. I'm not making contact deliberately because I don't need to rush in. He's only going to go up that far. But look at this. Look at how he is staying in neutral, doing his regulator clears. That's awesome. And I'm just giving a reminder about his buoyancy. So here we go. Now we're at the point of actually using the inflator. Now look, they're getting so much more dialed in once they've got that inflator going. Look at that. Now notice, no one's on their knees. We've not done knees once. You know, we're going to have our bob ups come up to the surface every now and then and that kind of thing. Some people are a little bit more locked on the bottom than others, but this is where they're figuring that out. Good stuff for the very first pool session. Now we go for a swim. So we transition right out of that into, let's get warm, let's move, let's get some circulation. Check out these body positions, right? Nice fin kicking, because we do talk about fin kicking. We do that in a snorkeling session to really get into not doing bicycle kicking too much. Look at this though, hardly any hands are being used. Hardly any hands are being used for the swim. Look at this, is their first time swimming. And I really think it's because we've kept them in that neutral position, that they are head up, feet up, a little postured on the horizontal from get-go, from step one, never on their knees. And now you can see these positions. Look at that. Now they're in the 9-foot zone. Look how well they're doing in the 9-foot. As we know, it's harder to keep that neutral in the shallower waters, but look at where they are in 9-foot. So they're doing fantastic here. Again, this is that first swim. Now we're looping back to the shallow end to go do more skills. But barely any arm movements. Great posture. Watch this guy up at the top here. He recognizes he's at the surface. I'm going to go head down. He knew he didn't have to hit his inflator, right, to deflate. He just go head down. Now we start into some of our recoveries. So a little bit harder, right? More advanced with that exhaling. But look at this. She's exhaling continuously, and still staying in a very good marginal neutral position. That's just awesome. That's just awesome to do the skill. So here we go. She's starting in her neutral, a little bit head up, more legs down, but she's trying to get it under control. And the other thing to think about is, like, look at what we're talking about here with the hoses dropping. When you're in that horizontal position, the hose drops a different way. It's a different angle than if you were upright. You probably could see that between diver 1 and 2 there. Now watch, this guy's going to do the same. So neutral first. He's already risen to the surface one time. So now I'm reminding him about his breathing, not taking in a huge breath and just taking a smaller one in instead of the massive ones. Then I give a demonstration, again in neutral, showing that I don't want him to take a deep breath because he'll come to the surface. Now he's in neutral. He goes for it. Here we've got the sweep. Now he's risen up to the surface, but kind of slow, graceful. He's still got composure. And I settle him back down, give him reminders again, and we do it again so that he locks in that next time. Just get a little air out of that BC, and he was fine the next time. All right, so here we go. Check this out. Beautiful neutral buoyancy to start. Sweep. Comes back, exhaling the whole time, staying in neutral. With a little bit of negativity there. That's great. I mean, again, we're talking the first pool session. This is awesome. Here we go. Now we do the reach method. So we teach both the sweep and reach method. Look at how he's postured here. Look at how that reg goes straight down. He just comes up, keeps it in place. Right? So now it's time for the mask clears. How are we going to do on mask clears? Well, as y'all know, this one takes a lot more concentration, thought, a little bit more apprehension, but still they're staying in that horizontal position, which means that they've got to get that head up more, arched back more, to be able to get all of the water out of the mask. So here we go. You know, he's got it going on, but his legs are still high. So I'm giving him a reminder here that what he's got to do is get a little bit of that left end of the mask. There's still some there. So he's got to arch even more to get that last little bit out. There he goes. That's neutral buoyancy, everybody. That's the horizontal position we want everyone in. This is what it's about. So now here he comes, and he's had some problems with this. It's been a kind of a struggle for him. But look at how the laying flat part is not bothering him. Like, you know, he's using his hands. He's kind of coming up and down and all, focused on the skill, but the rest is inconsequential. Look how she's doing. Excellent job. Hovered there, just went a little negative at the end of that skill. Right, here she is on her mask clear. Just boom, done. Right, staying in that neutral, just slight contact with the knees. Here we go, slight contact with the knees on the bottom, but he's coming up. He's got the air going, so he'll rise up, probably touch the surface here. But look at that composure, getting a few breaths in, getting the air in. He knows to let air out of the BC while he's in the middle of a mass clear. Are you kidding me? So this is what we're talking about. Like, give them this. They're not task overloaded when we keep them in neutral buoyancy and do skills for the first time. Lots of people argue this. I'm here to show you it works. Wonderful neutral there. And then here we go. Ladies at the end, gonna crush it. Just staying in that horizontal position. Horizontal position, knees come up. Slight contact there, but focused on the skill. You see? Now we get into, here we go, air sharing. So we end our time with the skill of air share. Can we do this in neutral? Yes, of course. So we're keeping that horizontal position. Instead of doing this in the knees and being face to face, we want the horizontal position because that's how the person's going to swim to them usually. Then they can get horizontal, go to the surface, or vertical and go to the surface. But when we keep it in this horizontal now, this is fantastic. Problem solving. Again, first pool session, neutral buoyancy is barely even thought about right now. They're just keeping that horizontal, and in and out of a neutral is working really, really well. I think this is awesome. So encouraging. Look at that. Look at that. The end of the skill. Love it. Love it. So sweet. Now check this out. He is trying to put his hose back, his alternate hose. He's staying in neutral buoyancy while he's putting the hose back for the majority of the time. He just dropped down there at the end. That's crazy cool. Now here we go. The last swim to the deep end. So as we're doing this, look at everybody. They are chill. They're just meandering. Some of them are doing a little crab walk on the bottom. Some of them floating up, but not as much as they did that first time, right? So much better. They're dialed in. And now we're going to make our way down to the deep end here. Well, this is intermediate zone. This is 9 feet of water. So in the 9 feet, look how they're doing. Pretty darn good. They're more relaxed. They're getting in some, turns and flipping over and looking at the surface on their back and different things like that we are prompting them to do. And then we jump right into our fun time. Now, for me, fun time is a huge thing. Look at that beautiful neutral buoyancy right there. Beautiful. Here's that fun time. So what do we do on that first time, fun time, deep end? It is flips and rolls. We do front flips. We do back flips. We let people stand on their heads and do just all kinds of different things. And guess what? They snap into neutral even better after they do crazy stuff like this. It really works. It's part of our fun time, right? But it actually has merit because look, they can nail in after flipping, going right into neutral buoyancy. So folks, this is amazing. Now that is pool session 1, right? Pool session 1, first time on scuba, and they're performing at this level. Now here's what we do. Pool session 2, we do everything we did in session 1. We do skill repeats. So what do you think happens with their neutral buoyancy every time we keep doing this? They're rock stars. It's just phenomenal to see what they can do. So now we transition. We do the same skills in neutral in the shallow end, 3.5 feet. We move them to the deep end. They do the skills in the deep end because now we've seen, no, they're not going to float to the surface. And if so, we've got plenty of dive masters that stay up and behind them in case they rise, right? And so then we transition to the dive well, get out into that 15, 16-foot dive well and do the skills there too eventually. So that's our progression. It works really well. But the point is, starting them in the horizontal position, starting them in to understanding breathing, understanding posture and attitude in the water, understanding their weights, taking that time to get them nailed in, it works. You see it right there. I want to take a moment and introduce you to scubaguruacademy.com. This is my online course platform that has numerous resources for dive professionals. Courses that help you with things like being able to understand and teach decompression theory or dive tables or planners. You can even get those courses in metric or imperial. If you're becoming a NAUI or SEI pro, you may be required to perform a skin diving ditch and recovery, pretty much the hardest instructor skill there is. Well, there's a course for how to master that exercise. You want to bring Christian faith into diving? There's a course for that. And the diving industry's most comprehensive risk management course is also there. And let's say you want to teach at colleges and universities. Yep, there's a course for that too. And many more courses are coming up. These courses are extremely thorough and perfect for the knowledge base of a dive pro. You get to take them at your own pace, and you can keep coming back to them over and over for reference. Head over to scubaguruacademy.com to check out all the course offerings. Now, here's something really encouraging. The training agencies are moving to a skills in neutral model. It's being written into standards and into instructor training and evaluations. Even when RAID came out, they said they would do all open water diver skills, except one, in neutral buoyancy. This is really good, and I applaud the agencies for this. So, here's a couple takeaways for you. First, practice. Really, practice now doing all open water diver skills in neutral buoyancy with demonstration quality. This isn't easy. When you're sitting there neutrally buoyant and you're doing a regulator recovery and you're exhaling the entire time that you're doing a slow, segmented demonstration quality of each step of the skill, you're blowing out that whole time. How do you stay in neutral? That takes practice. It can be done. It takes practice. Same with mask clearing. I've seen instructors have horrible, inefficient mask clears where they just blow everything out. You can't do that in neutral. You shouldn't do that anyhow, nor teach your students that. But this is where that slow control, just the amount of air that goes into the mask is what gets the water out. That's all you need, right? That's controlled. Now, so when we do all of these skills in neutral, we practice that. Then we start to be really good, makes it real easy, and the students immediately pick up that, well, they're in neutral, they're doing the skill, I guess I can do it. Second, incorporate an early adoption of neutral buoyancy in your first pool session. Take the time to do it early. It will pay off with the other skills later. Now, each agency has their kind of model of when a skill is to be done. I don't want you to deviate from your agency's plan, but you can, in some agencies' cases, say, hey, I'd like to do this. Can I get a variation so that I can be able to do this earlier? Some allow that. But others, as you see, you just focus a little bit more on breath work or positioning. Doesn't technically mean you're teaching neutral before everything else. But we're looking at that posture, we're looking at that breathing, we're looking at just a different way to be in the water column. So there you go. That will do it for today, my friends. By the way, where are you on the fence? Are you a knee Nazi or you don't give a rip? Or are you in that sweet spot, like me, where you're in between? Let me know in the comments, and please subscribe to this channel to get more content like this. Thanks, everybody. Take good care.